Well, we got a TGIF today. We moved to Friday, episode 46, Analysts Gone Wild. Hope everyone's doing well. Robert Kramer here with more insights and strategy. My fellow analysts are on the horn here today. Let me go around and introduce them all. First of all, I cover ERP, supply chain, enterprise data, and a consortium of other things that mesh up with that. But Charles, how are you doing today? Tell us a little bit about what you cover, how you're doing on this Friday. Hopefully the sun's out there and it's not too cold.
No, it's absolutely beautiful down here in South Florida. Thank you for the introduction, Robert. I know you and I had some great time in Seattle. It's almost 2 weeks ago at this point. But yeah, once again, Charles Brennan, work with Nucleus Research, research and advisory firm, really focused on ROI analysis. I mainly cover the ERP, supply chain, manufacturing space, and all the beautiful topics that fall underneath that. So really happy to be here today. I know we got a lot of great topics to discuss.
It's great. It's so nice, and when we get to see each other in person, because it kind of allows us to understand each other a little more. So hopefully, Michael, me, and you will be able to connect, and Sam. Although, I think we can all probably do a Gupta ERP, live event sometime.
We should.
That has to be in the space, Robert. We need to go to the space to be able to do that live event, because Earth is just not good enough, I guess.
We can do a live case study.
I'll come to Toronto, for something like that. Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, Toronto's outer space. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
Right.
I like it.
I mean, it's a far flight. I mean, I'm not sure how you even get there anymore, right?
I'm not sure we're allowed to go there anymore, Robert.
Sam's got us cut off at the border. But Sam, can't we just take a raft through the Niagara Falls and we'll get there?
Yeah, I mean, as long as we have the path through the secret tunnel, I guess, as long as you know that, you'll get here.
It's through the, it's part of the Gupta ERP. They tell us how to get there. That's part of your architecture of the journey.
You need to deeply believe in Gupta ERP. Okay, you need to close your eyes, take a deep breath. Keep saying Gupta ERP. You'll come to Toronto. I guarantee.
There you go.
We'll do a live session about that.
Michael, what do we got?
Like it. Michael Fawcett, founder, CEO, Arian Research, focused mostly on AI, agentic AI, and its intersection with enterprise apps, particularly CX.
Sam.
Yeah, and I like this room today because we have a lot of ERP overlap, and that is designed. It's on purpose. Sorry, guys. I do that. I'm biased.
We like that.
So from our perspective, I guess, we are in the, ERP enterprise software space. That's our area of focus. Elevate IQ. I'm principal, and then host of WBS Talks. Over to you, Robert.
Okay, so we got a lot of topics today, and the goal is to discuss them amongst each other, tell opinions, see if the audience likes it, ask questions that you might want us to answer based on what we're talking about. So the first one is Usercentrics to acquire MCP Manager. Usercentrics is a privacy and consent management company. They're acquiring MCP Manager. It's a governance platform for model context protocol. So the goal is to extend consent, auditability, governance from web app tracking into AI and MCP-based agent workflows. So this does matter because this is the first major privacy vendor to explicitly govern consent and data access to its agents. Lots of discussions, I'm sure, today will be about agents. What are the benefits, guys? What are the challenges? There's always them. But what I like to see is how's the downstream to the customers? Does this make sense for them? Does it do anything for them? I think it's a pretty positive announcement all in all. Charles and Michael, what do you guys think?
Yeah, from my perspective, from a high level, I'm not really as familiar with Usercentrics as maybe some of you other folks might be, but I think when you think of MCP, there's been a lot of conversations around that. And I think, organizations, you talk about AI agents, it's not just access to the data, it's more that controlled, governed data that ultimately aligns with certain privacy and regulatory obligations a lot of customers face. And, I think when you mentioned the customer aspect, Robert, and, from my conversations with customers, a lot of the time when they hear MCP, whether at a conference or just, having conversations with their vendors, oftentimes privacy is something that is overlooked. And I think that's something customers are asking for. And that's a big barrier to adoption of some of these tools. But that's my high level consensus on it.
Okay. Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting announcement. Obviously, the whole consent management platform concept is quite a useful way to think about this privacy protection and compliance. But MCP's gotten so much press over the last year, and it is very useful because agents have to use tools. They have to access those tools somehow. Sure. But the problem is underneath that, MCP is kind of Wild West right now. It just doesn't have the right security protocols in place. It doesn't have the right identity management in place. So, if you leave it up to the end user, which is what most of the vendors have been doing, you've got serious risk around deploying MCP. So this idea of the MCP manager, which gives you identity, gives you guardrails, gives you reports and logs so you can meet compliance and governance requirements. Very strong, really interesting way to approach this. And I think the two together actually form a really nice way to try to meet the GDPR and CCPA and other privacy law requirements and compliance requirements.
So, Sam, don't you think that there's some issues and challenges, like Michael said, for the customers and being able to map these AI workflows to the MCP connections, because many organizations might not be ready or set up for that? So this might be a nice, to have, but is it something that can be implemented successfully out of the gate, or do you need some technical people there at that firm, the customer itself, or that's probably standard? What do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at any agentic development, even though marketing says that, you probably don't need anybody, I guess, anymore. AI agents can code.
Well, I mean, how do you guys
out of the box and does itself? I mean,
AI agents can code themselves. They have a social network now. Can you believe that?
They do.
They are talking to each other, hanging out, and soon, I mean, they'll be doing podcasting together live. I don't know where, but that's a possibility. Okay. So in this particular case, obviously user-centric. So I'm going to be with Charles on this one. I am not too familiar with them. And this market as well. I think Michael is probably going to have more background in this particular market. I would see this as overlapping with CDP, I guess. That's how I see it. Obviously, if you look at SAP, Oracle, they all have a similar tool in their portfolio. I think SAP has Immersis. Immersis always had some sort of privacy management because they deal in Europe. Now, I'm with Michael on the concern about MCP. My position will be similar to what I have spoken so far on these episodes, that if you are not doing MCP, you are probably behind. But if you are doing it, you are in trouble. So I don't know where this is all headed. I do see value in, for this particular use case. I don't have as much concern. But overall, I mean, Michael is saying MCP is Wild Wild West. I'm saying AI agentic or agentic world is Wild Wild West. I mean, that's how I'm not getting my answers when I talk to these companies. I just don't have enough clarity, when you are going to talk to LLM, what is going to be my, data risk? What is going to be my geopolitical risk? Are you going to send, Canadian data to the US? I mean, Canadian companies are probably going to be, careful about that, I guess, right? So, yeah, and US to Canada, I mean, both ways, right? I mean, there is a reason why we have these boundaries for countries, I guess, right? So, yeah, so I mean, all of those risks combined, and we need to think through it. I mean, I'm not saying that, I mean, there is a risk today, but even before today, I guess we had these risks in the world, and we need to think about that. Okay, where is data going? Who's hosting it? Who controls it? Who owns it? Whose number should I dial if I have trouble? That clarity is not there in the agentic space right now, in my mind.
Yeah, but here's the real rub to this announcement, and I think the benefit, right, is that instead of just tossing out MCP at a very agent level kind of point-to-point integration, it puts a platform in the middle of it. So you've got servers and agents, and you've got a platform in the middle that handles that identity, handles the compliance reporting, provides you with deterministic guardrails, gives you all the access controls, alerts. So that actually is a step towards the right direction, I think, for doing this. And a lot of companies haven't done that, and there aren't that many platforms that do that right now. They simply give you capability to go to MCP, but a lot of MCP is just a cover over APIs.
Yeah.
And as we know, they work great when they work great point to point, but they also break, and and if they don't have the right security and access and identity control, it's a huge risk.
So, Michael, in my mind, I guess there is a little adaptive component, and that's what I guess is the power of MCP. I don't think the traditional API layer or even machine learning on top of that would have that, right? So that's where the power is. But the power is not explained or articulated as well as how I would like to see to understand how the technology works. We just don't have, and at least I don't have that understanding. Maybe, Michael, you do, but that clarity is not there.
Don't you guys?
And like I said, that's actually the point here, is to actually provide you a platform that will step in and help you with that clarity, with that middle layer, that piece that's just missing today, right? Because again, point to point, it's point to point, it breaks. We have had this with APIs for years, right? And there could be security risks, there's prompt injection risk, all these things. But if you put something in the middle that actually provides that platform control layer, you can get past that. So that's a positive. Now, I haven't, have I tried this? No. So, it'd be interesting to see this in action, but I think it's a really good approach to trying to solve the MCP problem.
Well, don't you think there's a bigger, grander picture here where, Sam, we've talked about event-based ERP, we've talked about platforms, we've talked about ecosystems, and I think these companies need to take a hard look, the enterprises itself, not the vendors, hard look where their business is, where it's going, what modernization they need, because where things are headed it's about the ecosystems. So which companies do you want to work with? How do you get your technology stack in a more under control? And then these platforms that these vendors that you're going to work with are going to need to talk to each other. So you have to put your infrastructure in place, and I think your readiness based upon your innovation aptitude needs to be taken into consideration of what needs to be put in place for the future of where innovation is going, because I think these companies are going to be dragging pretty far behind where the vendors are at if they don't put their ducks in a row for what they need.
Yeah, great points.
No, and I think you're right, Robert. I mean, I think, going into this with your eyes open, it's, just because you want to do agentic doesn't mean you're at a maturity level in your organization or a maturity level with the technology that you're using to actually go all the way to, full agency, full automation at first. You've got to step through this in very regimented ways so that you build the layer of trust around what you've done. And, the MCP is a big part of this because agents have to use tools. And so they have to be able to integrate to them. But then going into this with your eyes open, that MCP does have risks that you need to manage, and that not all the MCP servers that are out there today give you the capability to easily manage this. Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think that you've got to go into this with that sort of mindset that you have to go through in a regimented, organized way to work through building that trust over time.
Yeah, it's not a one size fits all. So I think it's these enterprises have to take a responsibility because the vendors can only position things so much. And I think, but I think the vendors have to meet the customer where they're at, but they have to show how they get that customer to this innovation that's happening throughout the world, So so let's hit Sage. Sage partners with Augusta Labs for AI Center of Excellence. Sounds good.
Of course they do.
But so Sage is a small, medium-sized business, mid-market accounting, ERP, pretty substantial business, and we run across them all the time, all of us, I'm sure. They're partnering with Augusta Labs, which is an applied AI engineering lab. So the objective is for Sage, them to be helped with their AI Center of Excellence. So they're embedding this team directly into their product organization to help out. So this is, they're trying to say that Sage is trying to say they're more of an AI first company. Doesn't sound like that's been used before, but I think it has.
Yeah, it's new. Yeah, that's totally new.
Yeah.
So what do we think of this? I mean, the downstream is, and I always look at this, and Charles, we talked about this in person. We're talking about it today. Customers first. How does this benefit the customer? Going back to what we just said, is the customer ready for this? And what do they have to do? It's a positive in the end, but is this framed as something new, something that we need to talk about, or just standard? I think it's positive in its own way. Charles?
Well, it's
I mean,
potential
we know
to
there's a
be-
talent crunch, Robert, right? I mean, we've talked about the talent crunch for a while. This is just a way to get bodies that have knowledge that we can use as expertise into centers of excellence that
Good
they
point.
don't have on their own team, and right now can't find a hire. So I it's a
That's
it's a body
interesting.
shop. It's
Say
not
that.
bad.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, I guess.
Well, and the way I see it too is that, Robert, like you mentioned, we've had these conversations and where a lot of vendors struggle to really meet the customer where they're at. I think this is a good opportunity to do that, right? I think there's a large appetite for deploying AI tools, whether that's within your ERP or whatever the instance might be. But I think a lot of times organizations, as we discussed also, have a tough time getting there or don't know how they should approach it. So I think organizations that are investing more into these consulting type approaches for these tools should have a better outcome. In theory, it should work, but I think this will show dividends down the line. But I think this is a very interesting partnership. Just let's see how well they're going to approach their customers, how much they're going to work with customers, and not just force everything on Augusta Labs. There needs to be some good synergy between the Sage team and Labs team there to ensure that the customer's satisfied at the end of the day. So in theory, this is good, but we'll see how this works out.
Great. Michael, any other comments you have? What do you think?
No, I mean, I think building center of excellence, enterprise vendors have been doing this for a long time. Sure, makes sense. Gives the customer a place to go and test things and learn things. Fine. They can't find their own, talent today because there is a big talent crunch in AI. Partnering with somebody that can help provide some of the talent and expertise in those centers seems like a good idea. So seems positive. Over time, obviously, they need some of that talent in house, and maybe that's a stepping stone. I don't know, but
yeah, 100% agree on that. They definitely need that talent in house because they can't just rely on Augusta Labs to do that. Consulting for them that help. And after a while, there's going to be a large disconnect, and we see it all the time with these implementers, these resellers that they have their own agenda at the end of the day. So,
yeah.
Sam, what do you think?
Yeah. So in this particular case, I guess, I'm more interested in knowing what is going to come after this. I'm not too worried about this particular story, and I don't even know if this is a real story. And this is probably the first time I would comment whether you need a story like this, to be completely honest, because at this point of time, everybody's trying to acquire as fast as possible. So now if you are just thinking about building a center of excellence, I don't know what that means. And I don't even know what Augusta Labs is. Are they development company? Are they, AI researchers? What is their position in the market? With the speed that the market is moving right now, you want to acquire as fast as possible. Obviously, Sage is not like AI native vendor at this point of time. They want to be AI first. And this is the same positioning that they had when they had acquired Sage Intacct. So that leadership is probably gone. So initially, that's how they had acquired Sage Intacct, because the Sage Intacct probably became the kind of CTO or center of excellence for their technology strategy. Now you are going to have an external entity who's going to be overseeing this. I get the talent crunch, but still, you need to have your own strategy and figure out, what you are going to do, I guess.
It's interesting that you said the things you did specifically about Center of Excellence. One of the companies I was at previously, Atos, I remember they were like, "We're starting a Center of Excellence." I'm like, well, what does that mean?
It's an excellent center. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, does that mean you're
excellent?
What's the definition of that? So it's interesting because it's a nice marketing, slow, saying, or, and even department that people are put in, but I guess it's different at every firm, but I think it sounds good anyway.
Yeah. I've seen it work well if they really are building out regional office space and talent and technology that customers can go to and prototype, do POC, test, learn. That I've seen it work well, but then you're right. What definition are they using? No idea.
It says a Center of Excellence is a specialized team within an organization that consolidates knowledge, expertise, resources for best practices and blah, blah, blah.
I think it basically
That sounds good.
Well, I think when an organization has to develop a center of excellence, there's clearly a large disconnect between the sales process, selling a customer a product or a tool, and then the customer actually deploying it. So I think that's, there's a large disconnect there, and I think Sage understands that a bit more, and they're investing potentially into improving that, because Augusta Labs, from my understanding, right, they help with AI strategy, they help out with that infrastructure. Yeah. Sure, I mean, these, whatever that may mean specifically. So I mean, this could potentially be good, but yeah, interesting to see how this will work out for customers.
Okay, well, let's go talk a little bit about ServiceNow, how they're enhancing their global partner program. I actually really like this one. I think this is a positive. I do think no matter whether this is more AI centric, which agent centric, for their marketplace, to govern that a little bit better. But I think that most companies need to pay more attention, or vendors, to their partner program, just because the partners are a big source of could be benefits or problems if they're not properly aligned to the company's beliefs and exercising what they need to do. So they're revamping it to expand their build program to accelerate partner built AI agents. So they have different tiers. I think this does help the customers a lot, and it does help the vendor itself, which is ServiceNow, and also the partners. But the partners, I think it makes them a little bit more accountable, and to make sure that the agents are deployed correctly. Any thoughts?
I mean, it's not a bad thing, Robert, but at the same time, it's a me too, right? I mean, Agent Exchange at Salesforce, they did it last year. Zoho has a marketplace. Mm-hmm. I mean, all the vendors, all these larger enterprise vendors, SAP, all of them are building out these agent marketplaces. It makes a lot of sense when you go in. Do you want to? It's kind of like a hiring process. Do you want to build an agent? Do you want to buy an agent? Mm-hmm. If you have one that meets 80% of your requirements, you buy it and you train it the rest of the way, and you've got an agent that does whatever you bought it to do. It's a fine, but again, it's something that you can get from a lot of the vendors today, Oracle, Salesforce, SAP, all.
Yeah.
100%.
So from my perspective, I guess, so you are comparing this with some sort of, API marketplace as well as, add-on marketplace.
Agent
Michael.
marketplace.
Yeah. Obviously, you have agent marketplace, but the difference that I am noticing in the community, okay, so with API and with some of these add-ons, you had a lot more documentation available, in terms of what you can expect as the input and what I should be expecting as the output. And that's where the loss is when I look at these agents. They just don't have enough clarity in terms of what to expect when we are going to. So I don't know if the documentation is going to evolve, and we are going to have the similar documentation as we used to have for APIs. Even a lot of AI native applications, the only documentation, publicly facing documentation from the development perspective, the only thing they are providing is API documentation even today. They don't tell us, okay, what is pre-built and what is not pre-built. From the commercial procurement perspective, we need to know that. So that's where the real loss is, I guess. Now, in this particular case, ServiceNow is launching, every vendor is launching, great idea. My heart says, good job, guys. Okay. But I am hearing a very different story, on Wall Street right now. I don't know whether you guys followed what happened in the last 2 days.
I was going to mention that, because the application technology market, I mean, besides today, has just been getting destroyed. Now, you took the words out of my mouth. I couldn't agree more on ServiceNow in particular, that they've dropped a great amount.
Yeah, there are a lot of companies have dropped pretty good. Yeah. So
they are. Yeah. So, but honestly, I think that's a bit of a misunderstanding, right? Because we're not in a world where we're just going to do away with enterprise apps. We talk a lot about agents. Cool. Think of it as headless enterprise apps. The agents, the head, and the enterprise app's still there, because you got to manage the data. You have to have the workflow process underneath it. Sure. So I think this is just a misunderstanding, right? I think people don't really understand where the business is going to go, at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to this point here, we see that there's more than 1,000 partners, all this. So I think really here, it depends on the quality of the partners ServiceNow brings within this program. I think that's the biggest thing, right? We talk about customer adoption. If these aren't quality individuals helping businesses meeting them where they are currently, helping them develop that infrastructure, improve whatever that may be, whatever use cases they're trying to establish, then I think this might be just another dust in the wind type of thing, where you're kind of doing this as a Me Too moment that Michael was mentioning earlier. But it has some potential. As Sam's point was great earlier about Wall Street. Took the words out of my mouth. So
Yeah, I will say that companies are using agent marketplaces in general because it is a good way to accelerate if you see those available in on the platform you already own in the use case that you're trying to solve. It does accelerate it to some extent. So there's some positive to the marketplaces in general. I mean,
It provides
would you really?
optionality, right? At the end of the day, it provides optionality, right? If
It
you're
does, yeah, right. It gives you choice. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
but it goes back to the quality of those choices too. So you have more choices. Does that mean
That's
these
always
choices
the
that
case,
we can
right?
select are going to be beneficial for us?
Yeah.
Once again, this remains to be seen. But I think the opportunity it's ultimately lowering that barrier, like you said, Michael. So as it's a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity for customers, and let's see if they take advantage of it. So that's the biggest thing.
Good point.
Okay.
All right, so we talk about syntax.
Let's do it.
So they release their syntax construction toolkit for SAP solutions. So Syntax is an SAP Oracle cloud solution provider. They're launching their construction toolkit for SAP solutions, and that's a specific target to engineering, construction, operations, and specifically, I believe it's SAP Cloud ERP. I think this is a positive thing. And as we go, I'm not sure if this includes, Sam, anything to deal with robotics, but if it does, I think that's even more positive, but I'm not sure. But it does deepen, syntax, specialization, their strength for with SAP. I think there's some challenges and roadmaps to get this, more of, implemented in the complexity that it can have. There's obviously benefits for the customers, the downstream. What do we all think about this?
Well, I think inherently, right, the elephant in the room, the construction industry by nature is typically behind in terms of technology adoption, right? The nature of the business, there's so much manual labor that needs to happen to get a certain project done. All that goes within, certain projects, construction and engineering, the contracts that you procure, secure, and whatnot. So I think this is ultimately a way to help these SAP customers really, improve the ROI they get from deploying their solutions, right? Because them being the implementation complexity being so high that negatively affects time to value, ROI. So I think this is just an opportunity to help these customers in these very, very complex business models, ultimately leverage their technology better. So this seems great, potentially helping customers out. But I think going back to the construction industry and its challenges, I think that it's just forcing that much more investment from these software companies. And it would be very interesting to see how robotics could eventually make its way into an industry like construction. And we are starting to see the manufacturing a bit. But construction, I think, is a good opportunity in the future, potentially.
Well, it's a hard industry to automate 100% or to automate more because of the fact that it doesn't have the accessibility to automation tools as much. But also, Sam, change management's a big part of this, but if it was Gupta ERP, there is no such thing as change management because it's not necessary. But I think that change management part of this is, you're supposed to laugh, Sam.
Yeah. I mean,
He was laughing inside.
He was laughing inside. Yeah, exactly. I mean, see, Gupta ERP is different, right? So you won't know what Gupta ERP is doing sometimes,
I can't buy it because you can only buy it if you're a Canadian. But
it has to maintain its poker face.
Anyways, Michael, what do you think about this?
I mean, I if you take kind of a broader lens to it, a lot of you'll see a lot of vendors have moved into more and more deeper vertical kind of offerings, and so I think that's a positive. The more the out of the box functionality meets the specific industry workflow you have, generally the better it is. It maybe accelerates your use and gives you some capabilities you wouldn't have. So I think in a general sense, having a deeper vertical offering. I mean, Oracle, I worked with their E&C AEC group last year a bit, and they've been building out some templates and things to help Oracle ERP be more vertically focused around AEC. So it's an area that could use that, and I don't know. It seems like a okay thing. I didn't dig into actually the specific process, although I know they focused on billing at first, which is fairly complicated in the E&C space. So, yeah.
Yeah, could not agree more. I think Michael is, spot on with his commentary. For the most part, when you look at Oracle and SAP comparison, Oracle has a lot more native, construction capabilities as opposed to SAP. So now SAP has to compete. How do you compete? Okay, so this is a partner IP play. Syntax is a partner here. Obviously, they are developing IP. The question remains, okay, how relevant this IP is going to be tomorrow? Because AI agents are going to overtake pretty much everything. Now you have invested, I don't know how many $1 million in creating this, and tomorrow I don't know what's going to happen. Robotics is a very interesting comment. I don't know if these guys would do anything with that. IFS is doing a lot more. Obviously, they are very deeply penetrated into this space as well. I would say Deltec, Michael, your favorite. They are into this. They have done some robotic, but not as much, I would say. Their play is slightly different. So overall, I guess I like this because SAP natively, I would like to see a lot more functionality developed natively, and that's what customers want, because you reduce a little bit of vendor risk. But obviously, SAP, at least in the cloud version, they just don't have the same capabilities they used to have in the on-prem world, and that's where the gap is. So you need to rely for very thick IP. If you are going for these industries in construction with SAP, then you need something like this. So, I mean, in my mind, this is very meaningful. It's just that AI is making everything irrelevant, including all of us, I guess. So I don't know how to read this.
Well, no, I mean, in a year's time, it's going to be an AI agent or avatar of myself having a conversation with you, Sam. So no, yeah, everything's getting automated.
Even I don't want to work, Charles. To be completely honest, I would love to have.
We definitely would rather not work than work, but these are fun conversations, so it's worth it, right? Should we go and talk a little bit about the next one, which is Zone and Company? They unveil an agentic orchestration layer, Zoe by Zone. Correct me if I'm wrong. This I'm not too familiar with this company. I think I've come across them a little bit, but they are built around NetSuite. Is that correct, Sam?
Yeah, they're built on NetSuite. They're a deeply
So this orchestration layer that we're talking about, the Zoe by Zone, should help, because that would help from commanding some of the finance teams with some of the interesting agents that they're able to coordinate. So I don't really have a lot more to say. I'm assuming this is a pretty big benefit, and how it actually, but I'm worried about the changes that it's going to make and how it's going to be implemented and what's necessary from where their clients are at to get them there based upon where they're at. Is it built, since it's built in NetSuite, is that a positive or is that kind of add another complexity?
If you're a NetSuite customer, it's a positive. If you're not, no, it's not. Because I mean, really, it's for NetSuite customers, right? But the one thing I thought I did like about this is the trend is this year is moving out of customer service and coding use cases and into back office finance use cases, and this is focused around finance. So I think that's a positive. But
why do I need Zone and Company if I have NetSuite?
Because they don't have enough agentic capabilities built into NetSuite yet. I mean, they have some, but this is supposed to.
Why would I need them before this, though? Like, say I was a year ago, why do I need Zone and Company? Because they have better financials than NetSuite.
Better financial automation, I think, is the trick there. But it's a partner, and they add some, back office capability around automation and financials.
Okay.
So. Guys, so Michael, I don't know. I mean, you probably might have more background in this one, but based on my understanding, what they are doing, they are talking about subscription intelligence. So, and Charles, you might have. I mean, you track this market for a living, I guess. So you probably might have more, insight into this. So this, in my mind, would fall under that. What is that term? Revenue automation, right? So that's going to be the whole CLM layer, a little bit of contract intelligence, subscription billing, the whole workflow. I'm missing the vendor's name, the top one. Zora, exactly. Zora. Yeah. So now I don't know if Zone is going to be competitor for Zora. NetSuite claims that they have some subscription billing baked as part of that, but obviously subscription billing gets very complex. Okay. And some of the AI native ERP systems, if you look at them, what they are trying to do, obviously you have AI native revenue management as well. There are like a million tools right now, and we don't even know who's doing what.
Sure.
So I think this is NetSuite native. That's where the real play is, as opposed to getting something completely alien and trying to integrate that with the core workflow. My problem with all of this is you have so much technology out there. Everybody's doing MCPs. Everybody's doing orchestration. So what is my orchestration, I guess, when I try to figure out, okay, how much do I need to get from NetSuite? How much do I need to get from Zone? How much do I need to get from every other tool that I have in my architecture? Figuring that out is like solving a puzzle in my mind.
Yeah.
You're 100% correct. And when we go to a lot of these Oracle, SAP, Microsoft events in general, when you hear about just product development roadmaps, you're often flooded with just information, and it's hard to pick up. Okay, what do I take advantage of? What is kind of white noise? Whatever the conclusion might be, it's very difficult to get to that. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about, like you said, for some of these NetSuite customers, Robert, right there, NetSuite Next is a next evolution of, NetSuite ERP. How many organizations are ready to take on that next evolution of NetSuite? I come from a next NetSuite shop and the e-commerce company. I'm not too sure how ready they are to take that next step. So this provides an opportunity if they want, deeper subscription contract, intelligence. I think everyone is really building that orchestration layer. Ultimately, this is just another partner on top of the ecosystem, providing a niche capability or a niche fundamentals that customers can potentially take advantage of. I'm actually curious on what customers utilize them today and what value they get. But I think this is something eventually NetSuite's going to do themselves when they have the time. But
well, you're going to be next week in New York. Is that correct, Charles?
I won't be next week in New York. I have some events I have to go later on, latter half of that week. But I'll be at the later NetSuite events. But I know they have something in New York next week. Yeah.
So I'll be there, and so we'll see what they have to say. But I think this is something that that a lot of vendors are doing. They're showing the features and the capabilities. We've talked about this, and they're not explaining the roadmap from where the customer is at from a readiness perspective of how to get there. And to me, when you keep on seeing this, it looks good, but it's the shiny, new red car. But how do I get it? What do I need? How much does it cost? I think that's a misconception that's happening from the vendors to the customers, and it's going to, at some point, the gap's going to be pretty severe.
Yeah, so guys, we have some relevant comments here, so let's attack those. Yuri, I don't know how to pronounce the name. I guess you guys might probably know that. So thank you so much for joining. And he's asking, okay, if I can ask, in scope of this toolkit, do you support milestone billing, time and materials billing, and progress billing in the same project while keeping invoices and revenue consistent? That's a very interesting question. I will provide my take on this. Depending upon the industry that you are talking about, obviously, if you're talking about construction, you are going to have very different billing methods and standards. If you are talking about SaaS, it's a very different industry and billing methods. But for the most part, if you are going to keep the state of these billing methods in different systems, and you are talking about data silos, reconciling that becomes a nightmare in my personal experience. So do you keep that in the same project? Obviously, I mean, the answer is going to be yes. If you're not keeping, you are probably going to struggle a lot, in my mind. What do you guys think?
I think this might be referring back to the syntax article, though, right? And not the current Zoe one, because that makes more sense in the AEC kind of conversation, construction conversation.
Yeah, so Yuri, if you have any sort of follow-up, you can do that. But my understanding is that they are going to have everything from the construction perspective, because it's a very construction-flavored IP. You are going to have anything other than that, then you are probably going to struggle. So I have one more comment, unless you guys have any other comments. So he's saying that AI subscription billing is always challenging, and it will get more and more, especially if multiple AI. And I think when he says AI, most likely he's talking about different agentic vendors and as well as applications. But again, subscription billing could be very different across industries. So that's also a very unique nuance that you need to pay attention to. And that's why we have very unique, I would say, revenue management offering, and they don't overlap as well. In some cases, especially if you look at SaaS, tech, media, I mean, they are unique beasts. the kind of usage billing that they are doing, construction has nothing to do with that. So do you keep that inside ERP? ERP is supposed to be accommodating a lot more business models in general. Revenue management is dedicated to a very specific micro vertical industry, in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more comments there on that? No? Okay. One more comment here from Jen. Jen, thank you so much for joining. So he's saying, just an observation I have seen lately, kind of feels like many of the new AI native ERPs are focusing on this subscription billing space, Campfire, Everest, Brillet. And you are right. I mean, they all are targeting tech, SaaS. And there is a big need for, I would say, revenue management. They are going after the real usage billing. That is probably going to be prevalent in hardware space as well. Maybe in 2050, that 2050 might feel like 2030 now.
More like it.
Yeah. So that's coming. But right now, I mean, most of the AI native vendors, I mean, they are definitely targeting subscription billing as well as stack space. So great comment there.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing here too, I've seen a lot from Rillet and Campfire specifically. Not too familiar with Everest. I have a contemporary actually working in customer support at Rillet. But I think this is an opportunity for them to create a name for themselves in the space. Right? They can't really compete with the Oracles, these large ERP vendors. So I think they're making a great attempt to make a name for themselves in areas like subscription billing, and then continue to expand with success in those areas. So. Right now, I think this is great for the ERP space in terms of, kind of evolution and, kind of the new age of ERP technology. But curious to see how long these companies will stick around for.
When we talk about subscription, are you talking about use or user? Because it's right, Sam. So most of it's changing the subscription. So when we're asking these questions, which one are we referring to?
I would say both, and there are going to be many more, examples of that. So this is going to be any form of subscription, and obviously you need to change subscription as your competitors change, market changes. So you cannot be very rigid about that, and that's the beauty of subscription billing. That you need to provide as much flexibility as possible. Sometimes customers are asking for, hey, give me monthly billing, give me prepayment, give me this, give me that. So it's just the demand is never ending, and sometimes the problem with subscription billing space is your key input is going to be usage data. If you look at some of the data center vendors and usage data, when I say, okay, what is your memory consumption, email consumption, how many emails are you doing? So all of those inputs, how do you get that data if that is sitting in some other system, right? So that's where I guess, if you are going to do this inside ERP, it could take forever. And nobody has forever now in 2026, I guess.
Well, there's a lot of shift. If you're talking about tech too, there's a lot of shift in models, right? I mean, it's not just subscription anymore. You're seeing a lot of usage-based, token-based, those kinds of things as well. So it just makes it more complicated when you start going into mixed models. So it's not just straight subscription.
Yeah, I think there's a huge benefit to the subscription. If you kind of go back to the days of where it was a turnkey, user-based, a lot of these companies bought what they had to buy to use the system, not for what they really needed for their business. What happened is they ostracized certain users. Transparency wasn't as high. The systems didn't benefit as much as they could with a larger base on there. So the goal was to get as many users on the system as possible. Because as Sam and I we've talked about on the show, we're going to an event-driven system at some point. So to have this system function as a major differentiator, these things need to happen. And I think you get as many users on the system as possible. It's a win. Does it cost more? Yeah. Does it give you more efficiency? Yeah. So does that cost, is that cost of taken care of now? Probably.
Yeah, so the problem, Robert, I guess what is happening in the market at this point of time is that even if you are going to be event-driven, there are just too many events that it feels like chaos. It does not feel like event anymore. So do you want to be chaos-driven or do you want to be really event-driven? Event mean you have to have some sort of predictability.
I think that what you said doesn't make any sense because of the fact that every customer is different. I don't know how their data is set up. I don't know what industry they're in. Yeah. I don't know their readiness for obviously it makes sense, but you can't skin it like that because it's not that generic. It's way more complicated. And I think that some companies need event-driven. I think it will guide them to major success. And you dive into the supply chain and the inventory control and moving things from order to cash, procure to pay. I mean, all that. Can you imagine how great that would be if I put my ducks in a row to get that worked out? So many companies don't have that aptitude to do that. But if you want to win, you need to be there in 5 years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Within
So
5
we have
years.
Yeah, in 5 years, I mean, right now it's probably going to be 5 minutes because we don't know what's going to happen in the stock market next minute, right? So, okay.
You're right.
Yeah. So here, one more comment, I guess. Let's catch up on that, and then we can move to the next story, I guess. We still have some time. So here he's talking about PSA. PSA is a category, and PSA is a great category. But PSA generally does not accommodate the revenue management as well, depending upon how thick that PSA is. So revenue management could get very complex as well. They have their own sort of integrations. They have, contract lifecycle management. PSA goes much deeper into the whole billing aspect, the one that you are talking about. But again, where is the overlap is always, a question. So he's talking about project-based ERP for milestone. Again, the more consolidation you are going to get, you are sort of moving towards the right in terms of the maturity spectrum. Do you want your accounting to be consolidated with the process? Then you move to the ERP. Otherwise, you are going to be PSA. Otherwise, you can manage your workflows in Trello. Nobody is going to judge you, I guess. About your maturity. So that's the comment, unless you guys have any other comment on this one. No? Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's go to the next story. Do you want to do that, or do you want to stay on this one, guys?
No, I think we're good, unless anybody's got any closing comments. Anything from you, Michael or Charles?
No, we can move on.
Okay, so Nice, I guess that's how we want to pronounce this one, launches Cognigy simulator. So that's another AI performance lab. What do we think of this? I think it obviously is, to evaluate and help and mature production grade AI agents, to be able to scale those, to have some scoring environments. I think they bring in some simulations with digital twin, which is, I like that a lot. What do you guys think, Charles? Any thoughts on them?
Well, I think that this is huge for trust, right? I think that's a big barrier customers are going through, and trust is a pretty loose term, but I think the ability to have a simulation option where organizations are able to say, hey, listen, we want to automate, we want to use agents for this task, right? Now let's go see how that is going to actually perform. So I think that, like you mentioned, through digital twins, the ability to do that is extremely beneficial for companies, and I think they have the ability to test, monitor, and ultimately, critique or configure the agent to do what they want and get it done the right way. So it seems great.
This is interesting for a couple of reasons. The first one, obviously, the current use case, building digital twins, simulating customers, testing in a test environment against that simulated customer, makes a lot of sense. Is a great way to build trust, as you said. But the second iteration, the next thing, we've been talking about this for a year or two now. We talk about personalization a lot. Well, think about it as individualization. What if you could, in near real time, predict customer behavior and outcomes in a simulated environment, so you could offer the thing that you already saw would work in the simulation? That it's a really powerful idea. Now, it's not done yet. Obviously, they're in step one, but that idea, moving into this idea of being able to real time simulate a customer, create that environment, and then bounce different actions against it at machine speed so that it could happen in near real time, that could be an extremely powerful next development.
Do you think a lot of companies are using stuff like that? Because I think that what you said is such a big deal.
Not yet. No.
Yeah.
Where you see digital twins is more in like physical things, right? So you in design's a great place for digital twins, because I can simulate it in a digital environment and test it first before I build it or before I build the model. But the concept works the same with customers, and you're starting to see it in this case. Can we simulate that customer and then do run some simulated scenarios against it and get some outcomes? So it's one of those things that's still really early, but as Tim has said before, we're moving very, very fast. So, we could get there in the near future.
I think some companies are using it, but I would imagine the Olympics is using the digital twin from a security perspective to simulate, situations that could happen. It's, people say digital twin and they're not sure what it means. I think it offers so much. Obviously, it's probably not inexpensive, but it could help with future things that are, that could cause a major problem.
It's massive in supply chain,
It takes
right?
a lot of
You think about it.
compute. Oh yeah,
Massive.
yeah. It takes a lot of compute resources. The
Yep.
only issue, right?
Yeah, it's a good point. What Charles, give us an example how you would use it in.
So right, if you have if you're sourcing goods and you have a supplier disruption, whether that it can be a regulatory or trade war, whatever, you need to resource certain goods from a different individual in a different country. How do you simulate that, right? Because that sourcing then affects your transportation, where you store those goods. That's eventually going to get to the customer. So you need to run that through a digital twin, model that, and then potentially redesign your supply chain so that you can get it done in a cost-effective manner, right? This is a very high-level example, but it goes to show that supply chain, all links are connected, but you need the ability to simulate that. Digital twins are also very big in the manufacturing environment as well, especially for asset performance or not.
Of course.
But I think going back to that thing, this is a great potential opportunity for customers. I don't know if any customers I've spoken to have taken advantage of the kind of AI performance lab at the moment. But to the same context of the supply chain, as you're mentioning, Michael, design, this could be a great opportunity for customers to test it out, to test the waters and gain that trust.
And Gupta ERP has a big module on digital twin. Is that correct, Sam?
So digital for Gupta ERP would be very legacy right now. I mean, I don't know why you want to call digital. That's like, is it seriously, like, do you have like Gupta ERP twin?
Oh, they're way beyond that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In my garage, I'm not using it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I can pull it out.
It automatically redesigns your entire, enterprise as things
with its brain interface
redesign. You don't need to think about. You don't even need to talk about these things. Self-marketed, self-promoted, self-implemented. Okay, so here, thank you for pointing out that they were nice, because I was thinking that they were nice. Sorry, I had to do that joke. So in this particular case, and Charles, I believe what you are describing is more of the generic definition of digital twin.
Sure.
Digital twin could be anything, right? Literally any process could be replicated. So digital twin, the way it is commercialized in the market, is very different than the core intent, at least from this story perspective. So in this particular case, I mean, nice. And I was thinking again, they were nice. So they are in the customer experience, customer engagement space. Okay. And if you look at AI agents where they are practically used right now, they are probably into the customer experience scenarios. And in my experience, they work really well. Okay. But at the same time, I have never done this myself, so I don't know what I'm talking right now. At the same time, what I keep hearing in the market, what everybody is claiming and saying, and again, that's just theory. I have no validation whatsoever that I can talk about. But what they say is, calibration of these AI agents is a substantial effort in general. And that's what, I had given these assignments to my team as well. Hey, guys, play out, figure out if you guys can do something about it. Okay. And they are just not able to do the same thing that the market is claiming. So either we are just not competent enough, or, market is way ahead. That could be a possibility. But calibration is a real deal. Okay. That's what I'm hearing from everybody. Okay. It takes a longer time. It takes far longer time than the traditional development testing, how you would do that. So these AI agents, the way market is claiming, it's not that easy. And that's where I guess, especially when you look at customer experience scenarios, you need to do a lot of testing. How do you do that? Okay, that's where these audience scenarios that they are able to build, it's going to be agents testing agents, but with the real world context. And that's where I see the real power. Okay, that's what they are trying to do here. This is extremely, extremely powerful in my mind. But again, I don't know the real test cycle. Okay, everything, the way it is marketed in the market at this point of time, they just claim that developing is easy, testing is easy, calibration is easy, but I don't believe it's that easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Robert, you froze, I guess. I don't know. Yeah,
you're
moving. Yeah, you need to keep moving, okay? Otherwise, see, the camera thinks that Robert is gone.
He's just taking a nap. Come on.
Yeah, I was thinking about how I'm going to get my garage cleaned this weekend. So
We'll do a simulation first, and then you can.
I was wondering, is there a digital twin that can do it for me? Because it's
contact me offline. We can get something going with that.
Yeah, we go. So, well, why don't we kind of do a wrap up here? Kind of go through what the plans are for the weekend. What anybody traveling the next couple of weeks? Let's talk a little bit about one last thing that you might have mentioned. I want you to mention who's going to win the Super Bowl on Sunday. I know there's a lot of technology that's going to be used there, and it's interesting how that's another story as well. But Charles, what's on tap next couple of weeks? What are you doing this weekend? Who's going to win the Super Bowl? And are you going to be using any AI this weekend too?
Oh, well, I mean, listen, I'm utilizing AI every day, looking to automate everything that I do. So potentially I can automate this podcast here as well. But in terms of this weekend, the weather down here in South Florida is great. So taking advantage of it. I'm a big tennis player, so getting back into that.
Good.
Just enjoying my time there. I have some stuff to do around the property as well. Like you mentioned, I don't have to do anything with the garage, but just do something around there and make sure it's up to date. Next couple of weeks in terms of travel, I got Atlanta coming up sometime next month. I got some travel there on this week. I'm going, or next week, going up to Orlando. And then otherwise, I think for the Super Bowl, unfortunately, I have to go with Seattle because I unfortunately am a Jets fan, and the Patriots have just done so goddamn well, excuse my language, over the past few years. That
I'm with you, Charles, by the way. I'm in the same boat. Bills.
Oh, there. Okay. Well, then there you go. So I unfortunately, I don't really have a bone to pick with either team. I don't really care who wins, but I'd rather see Seattle win over New England because, the New England, just Boston in general, has had just so much sports success. I don't want to see any more of it. So that's my stance. But what about you guys?
Michael, what do you got?
Well, first I got to work on my Analysts Gone Wild simulation so that I can prep for the next one. So that's an important one. And then I'll say from a Super Bowl perspective, that simulation has not worked out. So I have no idea what's going to happen there. But at least the Olympics starts today. So that's a good thing, right?
Fantastic.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And I guess the next trip is Zoho for me. They got in a couple of weeks. We're going out to Austin for a Zoho
colleagues
summit.
from Nucleus going there as well. So okay, nice.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
So Sam, you see my background here. My family, my wife's family's all from Buffalo, so we're Buffalo Bills fans. So are you the same?
Yeah.
Okay, finally we have something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. That's why you have Seattle Seahawks there. I mean, you don't have Patriot. If you had, then I don't know if I would talk to you, I guess.
I am definitely not a Patriots fan because I'm originally from St. Louis, and the Patriots took major advantage of us, and those spy games, that was a cheat there. But I think I have a bunch of events coming up, a lot of ERP stuff. This is a big season this year, the springtime for lots of things happening. So I think I'm traveling a lot, and that was actually nice that we moved this to Friday because a lot of times the Thursday slot with the travel. So we have some of our team that will be at Zoho. We do some work with them, and I'll be at there's a Microsoft event, there's a Infor event, there's an SAP event, there's a NetSuite event. So there's a lot of things coming up. I'm excited to share that with our audience as we learn what the vendors are doing. But I'm going to say, because I have the Seahawks up here, I'm going to say it's going to be closer than people think, but I think it will come down to 7 or under. Last week, I thought it was like over 10, but now I think it's going to be a close game because those Patriots, they just will not go away.
Nope.
What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, so I think Super Bowl, I think Seattle is definitely going to win. That's my prediction, I guess. I don't think it's going to be as close. Let's see. But I think Seattle is way too strong from the get-go for the whole series. In my case, what I'm going to be doing over the weekend, I'm probably going to be building an agent, which can be much nicer than, me. Can talk nicely about vendors because, Charles, Robert, they always are asking, okay, you are not going to any conferences, they don't want Sam Gupta, so my agent can go there. Agent is going to be much nicer. It's not going to be as grumpy. So that's what I'm going to be doing. All right, guys, are we good?
Nice.
All right. So that's a wrap, guys. If you joined for the first time, we meet every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody.
Have a great day, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks.